but just things to note on Veni's side. He scouted, and upon scouting, put the barracks. Yeah, I will become stronger, and you will lose. That is a promise. You go, Shadow. You gotta love that. Veni scouted and installed a barracks and threw down a watchtower after his castle first. Seeing that there was a castle up and nothing was going to affect him shortly, yeah, the GG is coming soon. And the replay is about to end. Ready? It'll end soon. There we go. Man, I'm good. It's almost like I've seen this before. But seeing that barracks, then he puts down a watchtower. Having scouted again and seen a castle, so he knows that the attack isn't going to be very all in, he began his workshop as opposed to beginning of his barracks if he had seen that there was a bigger problem. Veni got to full worker saturation while still producing catapults, and then used that money to build 3 barracks, from which he cranked out Rifleman, and then he just went at 3 catapults. Once he had 3 catapults, he balled up his army, made sure to protect his catapults. He microed some of the shots that he had with his catapults, both to prevent them from getting attacked and to make sure that they did the most damage against soldiers, which is possibly the scariest thing this army can go against, is a lot of soldiers. And then he just pushed in, and behind this, he got an expansion. If this attack looks like it wasn't going to win the game, then he could just pull back. And now he has 3 bases. Now he can build whatever he wants. Pretty cool. Now we're going to run through it again. Bing. Bing. This time we're going to look at it from Shadow's perspective. Yeah. We're going to go through it a little bit faster, because we saw what happened already in the first game. First thing, if you're going to use a barracks, like a proxy barracks, I'm not 100% sure. I will have to check it again. But I believe 27 seconds is the earliest that you can start your house and then immediately begin a barracks afterwards. I believe, yeah, see, this house is going to finish. He could have started, if he cancels these 2 workers, he could start his barracks at like 45 seconds. But that's incredibly all in. And if you want to do something like a proxy, you'd have to send a unit out around 20 seconds to get over here to make that barracks right when it starts. So just a good rule of thumb, about 20, if you're going to try 1 barracks expansion, about 27 seconds for your house, about 1:04 will be your time for your barracks. And if you do that, you can consistently make workers, make units out of your barracks, and you will make houses, and you will be able to throw down your castle without interrupting any of that at about the 3-minute mark. Now, something that Shadow you can also consider, if you're Shadow and you're playing against this, even just a castle first, that's all we're talking about now. It's just 1 Rax expansion versus castle first. Obviously, we're going to stop cheating there. We only have Shadow's view. But if you're going for 2 barracks, it makes sense to build soldiers, because soldiers are very hefty against workers, and they obviously have the ability to burst down a tower more cost efficiently and with less hassle than, what are they called? The shooter things? Rifleman. Man, I'm talking like Buffy today. That's terrible. Shooter things. Now, this is smart, though, out of Shadow. If we had assumed that his house was at around that 30-second mark, and he had built this barracks, it would make sense, if he's decided that he doesn't want to do damage, to go ahead and build a castle. But it's worth considering this. If you're going for 1 barracks expand, and you have yet to scout your opponent, you're going to want to produce units anyways for 2 reasons. The first is that your opponent, if they went castle first, and you don't do damage, or make units so that you can try and do damage, will have an economic advantage over you. And it won't seem like much at about the 10-minute mark of the game, but it will certainly feel like a lot around the 7 to 8-minute mark of the game, which is when Veni puts out his Doom 3 catapults push of amazing. Like I put a replay up recently that showed +2 weapons Rifleman. That also hits around 8 minutes. Just in general, you want to be do as much damage to castle first, or try and do as much as you can. A second thing to consider is that if you have not scouted your opponent and you're going 1 barracks expansion, you're going to want to go ahead and make units just so you can scout. because it's very possible that they built a proxy barracks here or here on Steps of War, or if you're very unfortunate, it's possible they built one here. It's two barracks, or it's a barracks and a catapult, and not having that information out in front with scouting units because you haven't been producing the units is all the way bad. Even if it's one barracks versus one barracks, your advantage in going one barracks is that you'll have an army presence. If you're not continually making that army and you lose to the other player that's going one barracks, their opening is more successful than yours. So in general, if you go one barracks, even if you don't think that you're going to do a lot of damage off the attack, it's almost necessary that you continue trying to do damage off the attack. So we're going to speed up a little bit. This is going to pop out if memory serves. We're going to go ahead and see an attack. Bing! This is an interesting group. I have not had too much experience with one barracks, and I have certainly not had experience with Steps of War. But I think if you have this and you go one barracks, I don't think it's a bad idea to just go Rifleman and to try and poke everywhere you can. Unless the tower is placed like here and the house is placed over here and maybe the barracks is over here and there's just a super amazing placement. If there's any if there's any imperfection in the Sim City, then you'll be able to get around. In this case, if we go to all, you'll be able to see we'd be able to get around and possibly ping at this catapult, at this workshop. Would it do damage? Yeah. Would it do serious lasting damage? Probably not. But at least it's the effort that counts behind it. You could try and force mistakes out of your opponent, etc. Now, interesting decision, where as we go back into the non-cheating camp, notice that Shadow is just now scouted this workshop, but put down his own workshop before the fact. Now, a couple things. If you see that your opponent is already has had the opportunity to start catapults before you, you might not want to get engaged in a catapult v catapult war with the catapults as your main unit. Perhaps if you go soldier catapult, you could be a little bit better off. But Rifleman catapult versus Rifleman catapult, you're going to lose if your catapult production is later than theirs, because they're either going to be able to have more catapults and just melt down your soldiers and your own riflemen faster, or if you need to have more barracks units so that you can cover for the few catapults that you have, so they can't be focused down and then you're just in a really bad position. Now, something else from Shadow. I don't know if he knows this or not, but he's certainly not doing bad. But while you're building up this army and you're building up this workshop, just look at Veni and what he did for his number of workers. I said that 26 wasn't too much compared to 23 wasn't. Wow, how did I conflate the 2 and the 10s and the 6 and the 1s for 2 players? 23 v 16, proper numbers, isn't that bad. That's what I said when we were looking at Veni's side. But it's still an advantage. Veni has 20 workers, which means he has full saturation on his 2 bases, and he has the ability to pull 3 workers to build like these 3 barracks or whatever else he feels like building. If he decides to go build a castle and then build watchtower, he's going to be able to keep himself at optimum worker saturation. And at this point in the game, it's also really possible for Shadow to be at that point too. So worker production is seriously the key. I mean, if we go over to the minerals, yeah, it's about a 600 gold difference, but that 600 gold difference isn't something that has been kept over from the choice of openings being a 1 barracks attack that didn't do too much against a castle first. It really is just focusing on those workers, and that'll give you more money than you can imagine. I mean, let's look at that. That's almost 700 now. Almost 700. A catapult is 145 apiece. So 145, 290, 435, and this is 320. This whole army right here is caused by the difference, 1 in opening, because the first racks didn't do damage, but the rest of this army is the difference in the amount of money that Veni has compared to Shadow, and I can't help but think a lot of that is just worker production. It's just so critical. Now, Shadow does a good thing here in splitting up his army. That's actually really, really smart here. I'm going to cheat. And no, I didn't mean to do that. Oh, what a fail. All right, here, we're going to bring this menu up. We're going to try and drag it down away. Nah, that's ugly, but we'll work with it. Shadow does a smart thing in separating his army, but he went a little overzealously. It was a little overzealous with his army spread. The goal of spreading your army in such a way like this is that when the enemy comes, you'll have multiple points to attack from, while they'll only have one side doing damage at a time. So if these two soldiers in Catapult were more like here, or perhaps even closer if they were something like this distance away, then they could group up easily with this army over here. And if these riflemen were perhaps over here, then when Veni's units, or anyone's units, come out through the center, or even if they come up to one side, you'll be able to hit them from two sides. In the case that Veni comes through the center, you'll be able to take the units here and attack in, and the units here and attack in. In the event that Veni goes around, as he does, perhaps he's trying to backstab through his workshop, it's a smart idea, then you would be able to take these units over here and attack in, back these units up, and send these units over, and when they all meet together, start attacking. So it was a good idea to split, but it just didn't work out too well in Shadow's favor. Now, some other things to notice about how the engagement is going. Look at the way that it was very, very smart, as I said before, for Shadow to send units over to mess with the catapults, since he has an inferior catapult amount. But the catapults still are capable of microing, and with this number of riflemen against those few numbers of soldiers, Benny is just really capable of just tanking the damage with his riflemen. You don't often think that riflemen can tank damage, but yeah, they can. Yeah, 3 is apparently the magic number also for catapults. They're just so smart on Benny's part, because 3 of them knock a catapult into the red. Ow, that hurts. But 4 of them one-shot an opposing catapult. It's just so smart. And now he's just an unfortunate position that Shadow's in by virtue of where he was compared to where Veni was. The army was over here and the reinforcements were here, and his army wasn't large enough in the center to stop it. Although I don't think he would have won the game off of this, it's also really, really important when you're attacking or getting attacked to continually rally units. I mean, that attack was about a good 40 seconds, maybe even 50 or 60. I'll have to check again. Everyone in the comments will let me know if I did a terrible job guesstimating. But with the soldiers taking 30 seconds apiece, that 60 seconds could have bought him another catapult and 5 soldiers. I don't think it would have made so much of a difference that he would have won the game, but it's certainly a large difference. And as Shadow gets better, we're rooting for everyone to get better. That's what we do. This is how we roll. But as you're getting better, those units and their differences will make a big difference as the fights get closer and closer. So, I think we covered this from both sides. Yeah. Shadow's third I would talk more about, but this attack was just so forceful and such a giant shove. It's just, yeah. Now, first, kudos also to Shadow. Trust me, I saw this match live. Looking forward to seeing what you come up with. And Veni, I'm glad I finally got to do an episode on Rifleman Catapult. Oh my gosh, it's such a cool style. So, that's it for this time. Until the next time, the future times, all the times between here and now and forever and eternity. Minus the eternity and the forever. I'm a ton of Circus. Take care. Hope you enjoyed.